It is wine time, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about wine glasses. I'm going to recommend that if you enjoy wine and you're learning more about wine, that you invest in a nice set of wine glasses, even if you just get a pair. But you want to get one really nice pair of wine glasses, and that'll really enhance your enjoyment of the wine. Now, why is that? Well, just think of it like if you're listening to music. Music lovers tend to want to get more high-end speakers. You can listen to the same music on regular cheap speakers, or you can listen to the same music on really high-end, really high-quality speakers, and you'll enjoy the music more. It'll enhance the quality of your enjoyment, certainly, if you have the nicer speakers. It's the same thing with wine glasses. So this is my favorite wine glass, and I'm having some Pinot Grigio today. And so these are really good, nice, all-purpose wine glasses. These are both from a company called Riedel. Riedel is based in Austria, and they've been making glasses since 1756. So I think they really know what they're doing, and there's a lot of science behind different kinds of wine glasses. So these are two different styles. They're very similar. I mean, they're both the same. They're Zinfandel Riesling glasses. And this one is, though, the style called Venum, and this one is the style called Veritas. And this one, the glass is a little thinner, and the stem is longer. It's more expensive, but it's definitely my go-to, my favorite. But these are the style that you want. The features that you look for, in this case, the shape and bowl shape and size of the opening this is a very standard, good for all kinds of wine. You want your glass to be clear. So why? Well, because enjoying wine is a sensory experience. So it's visual and nasal aromas and then flavors. So you want to be able to really look at your wine and appreciate the color. Is it cloudy? These kinds of things. Is there any sediment? Is there bubbles? And if you've got a colored glass, like say this one, you can't really see the color of the wine. So if I put my Pinot Grigio in this glass, it is not going to be visual. I won't be able to tell anything about it. So I won't be drinking wine out of this glass. Now the next thing is the weight of the glass. So I like my wine glasses to be really lightweight. The thinner the glass, the better. The enjoyment is it affects the mouthfeel, how it hits your palate. So if you'll notice, these are very thin-rimmed wine glasses. This one's a little thinner than this one. So you don't want to drink out of a thick-rimmed glass like this. I'm going to kind of show you, let me put these up for comparison. See the difference in the thick rim? I mean, this is okay, but this is going to be way better. And it's more comfortable in your hand, too, which I think makes a difference. The other thing is lead crystal really isn't ideal. Lead crystal is pretty, and all that. It's very festive, and I'll show you, this is a lead crystal wine glass. I think it's very pretty. I think it's gorgeous, and it's very festive. It's fun for parties, but it's really not good for your wine drinking. One thing, it's really heavy, really clunky. The rim is really heavy, and the pattern affects my visualization of the wine. So I can't really see the colors as well. I can't see what I'm looking at with regard to the qualities in the wine. So I don't like to use that glass. So what else can we discover? You want to have a stem, okay? The reason you want to have a stemmed glass is so you can, again, look at the wine. If it's a chilled wine, if you don't have a stem, you're touching it. So here's a stemless glass. I don't even own any of these. This is from a winery. I've only gotten these as part of a wine tasting because I don't like them at all. So you're touching the glass, you're getting fingerprints all over it. You can't look at the wine very well because your hand's in the way. If you've got a chilled wine, you're warming it up with your hand on the glass. So there's a lot of reasons why I don't enjoy these for wine. You can use them instead of rocks glasses. You can use them. I use them for juice glasses. But as far as wine, I don't use these for wine drinking. So you've got your clear glass, you've got a nice weight, you've got a stem, and then a shape like this will be ideal for most wines. This is what you want for your basic set. Now, these Riedel wine glasses can be a little pricey. So if you don't want to go with Riedel, there's another company called Schott Zwiesel, and there's another company that makes a really inexpensive one called Libby. Everybody knows Libby, I think, glasses. You can probably buy them at Target. Libby has a wine glass called Signature Kentfield Estate. And it looks kind of similar to this. It's just not as delicate and thin of a glass. But it would be a good one if you don't want to invest too much money to get some nice basic wine glasses. So that would be another suggestion for you to try. Now, if you aren't sure that this makes a difference, before you even buy any glasses, if you have any kind of a wine glass at home, and maybe you have this, pour some wine in it, take a look at it, smell it, taste it, and then pour it into a plastic cup or a solo cup, whatever kind of cup, and do the same thing. Try to look at it. Can't really look at it through the solo cup. Take a smell. If it's a clear cup, you can see it still. If you smell it, you can't get the aromas out of a plastic cup. It's just not the same. And then taste it, and again, it does also affect the taste because it affects all of your sensory system. So smelling and tasting really is somewhat tied together. So you definitely need to have the right glass, and you can experiment and learn for yourself that it really does make a difference. Now, Riedel, as I was talking about, my favorite company, they make wine glasses for all different kinds of wine. So if you really have a certain kind of wine you drink the most of, it might be even a good idea to get a special glass. My favorite, and the one that really strikes me as the most unique experience, was this glass. This glass is Riedel's Oak Chardonnay glass. So if you like Oak Chardonnay, you'll know it has notes, very oaky notes, very buttery notes, a lot of fragrances. And this glass, if you compare it to our standard glass here, it's shallower and wider. It has a very wide opening, okay? And that gives you a chance to really appreciate all that goes on in that Oak Chardonnay. And I went to a Riedel demonstration, and we took the Oak Chardonnay in this glass, we smelled it, we tasted it, and then we poured it into a tasting glass. So just like those little, kind of like a tiny version of this glass, and we did the same thing. Then we poured it into a plastic cup and did the same thing, smelling and tasting, and then poured it back in here. And you can't imagine, it was like night and day. It's the most dramatic of all the wine glasses I've ever experimented with, is this Oak Chardonnay glass. So if you're a big fan of Oak Chardonnay, I definitely recommend this. This is the Veritas one, and it's fantastic. Now this glass is a Cabernet Sauvignon Merlot glass. So again, it's very similar to my standard basic glass. So this will work fine if you don't want to invest in all these different ones. But this is nice for your Cabernet Merlot type wines. And then this one is for Pinot Noir. So again, it's got a wider bowl, but a narrower at the top. So you can see it's even different from your Oak Chardonnay. It's a little taller, and it's got a much more tapered opening. And this is meant for Pinot Noir. And some fun ones I found also. This one is a sweet wine glass. So check out the shape of this, and it still has kind of a small opening, but it comes out and comes in. This is for sweet wine, and also you could use it for sparkling wine. And when you drink out of this, it kind of pushes the wine further back on your tongue, and you can appreciate sweetness. Just the way it hits your taste buds makes a difference. And then this one is really interesting. This is a kind of a tulip-shaped glass, and this is actually a Schott Zwiesel glass. And this is meant for dry Riesling, or I'm sorry, dry rosé, excuse me. So for dry rosé, you can put in this glass, and what it does, if you notice the shape, it pushes it toward the front of your mouth. And I did an experiment. I had some dry rosé, and I put it in one of these glasses, and I tasted it. And then I put some in the sweet glass, because they're shaped exactly the opposite. If you notice, this one tapers in, this one tapers out, and it was very different the way they tasted in the two different glasses. And you might even find, if you do the experiment, that you like it better in this glass. That's fine. But you know, but you do want to notice the differences. It's really fun to experiment. I do it a lot of times. I think, well, what if I switch this to something else and see if it really does affect the taste or if that just is a crazy notion. But I find that it really is fun. And I'm not a wine snob, but I'm a wine glass snob. And I really, really like to have the right glasses when I drink wine. Now, another wine sparkling wine I mentioned, or champagne, if it comes from France. And sparkling wine, you really want to use a flute style glass like this. Now, the old school kind of wine champagne glasses are these. So this is called a coupe glass, and this is called a flute. And there's also a thing called a trumpet, which kind of flares out a little bit more at the top. Flutes and trumpets are really your best, like this type of glass, because the whole thing about champagne is enjoying the bubbles. A lot of effort goes into making sparkling wines and getting those bubbles, and they really last longer, and you can really enjoy the visual of it best in a flute or trumpet glass. Now the coupe glass, what made those fun, people liked it, is because the bubbles dance across the top, and it's very pretty. But it's very pretty for a very short time, and you don't really get to enjoy the bubbles as long in that type of glass. The other thing I think is, for me, flute glass, I'm okay with having leaded crystal for champagne, mainly because there's not as many shades and colors and visuals that you're trying to appreciate as much as appreciating the bubbles. So occasionally I'm kind of okay with this, but that's my own personal preference. But definitely a more clear glass is kind of the way to go for any kind of wine. So that's just a little bit of a tutorial about wine glasses. And like I said, I definitely recommend that you invest in a set or a pair even, or even one glass that's really nice quality, so that when you're learning about wine or enjoying wine, you can really appreciate it completely. So I hope you appreciated this little lesson. And if you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Pam's Passport. And it is wine time. Cheers.